Hi, how you doing? Sorry, I'm used to there being a countdown on these things. Normally I'm streaming live, so hopefully this is all working fine for you and you can hear me and see me fine in this video. Well, I'll be uploading it to YouTube, so who cares? Anyway, preamble. I'm Chris. I've got a big beard. I'm solo dev. I'm also known as Old Blue. I've got pronouns, but to be honest, I've got a beard. Just call me Beard if you want. Anyway, what this is about is helping people like myself who are solo video game developers, or people who are indie video game developers, or even people who are in offices, surrounded by, big, tall, important sounding people that know what they're doing, apparently. Anyway, I've been looking at different ways and different tools to try and help and make the processes easier for what we do, which is make cool video games, or try and make cool video games. So what I've been doing is I've been using quite a lot of AI. Now don't freak out, don't run away. I know it's tempting. Let me just switch over. So if I go into my live scene, oh, there we go. So you can still see me here, and my screen's here, my camera's there. So that's why I'm if I have my camera right in the middle of my screen, it's going to obstruct everything. So I'm not ignoring the camera, just. Anyway, what I did was I wanted to know how, okay, I already know how, but I want to know how to create a material that's going to dissolve over time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring across, and I'm working in a big project folder at the minute, okay? Really big project folder for the game that I'm working on anyway. But, I've got plenty of space in here. So if I go, I should have a folder called something like My Materials. If not, I'm going to create one. So I'll go into Assets, and inside of Assets, new folder. I'll call this My Materials. Now, took me a long time to realize this, okay? Calling things my blueprints, my code, my materials, whatever, can sound pretty rubbish. Okay, you think to yourself, what am I, 6? But to be fair, it's actually a fairly good way of storing things because they're yours, the ones that you've created. It's like, get over the ego problem of calling things my materials, my assets, my folder and stuff. It's a really good way of storing stuff. Otherwise, you're going to end up with new folder 22, and no idea where your things are stored. Okay, so let's create a new material. So I'm going to go over here and my screen, I've got 4 of them, so stuff goes off the top. I'm going to just create a new material. And I'm going to call this one let me see, dissolve material. Now, bear in mind, this is how I teach, okay? I do things in real time and I show people how to do things. And if there's mistakes, we go back and fix them ourselves. So if you're expecting PowerPoints and if you're expecting big lists of things to do at the side, sorry, man. Anyway, Control S, because I've got to save that. If we don't Control S or don't save all, okay, and something goes wrong, we're probably going to lose our stuff. So you've got to save, just the way Unreal Engine works. Doing this with my hands, for what I do. Okay, so I'm going to open up my material. Now, if I look here, I've got my dissolved material. Okay, this is my end node. So this is what this is, this kind of dark, black, faintly shiny rubber style ball. Okay, now what I'm going to do first is I'm going to make a time node. So right click, I'm going to type in time. There it is there. Okay, now a time node is literally that. If I hold Control and Alt, it'll even say adds the passage of time to a material. Very, very useful. Okay, so I've got this. Now, next, after this is outputting time inside of seconds, I'm going to add what's known as a linear interpolate node, which is a LERP, L-E-R-P. So I can hold L and click, and that will bring it up. Or I can right click and type linear interpolate and find it that way. Or over here on the palette, I can do the same. Okay, so if I just type in lin up at the top here, linear, you can find linear interpolate and just drag it out. So there's lots of different ways of accessing it. Anyway, I am going to grab these. And what a linear interpolate is going to do is it's going to allow you to interpolate, i.e. change between 2 values based on a third value, which is our input value. And our input value is going to be time. Time goes in here. Okay, so over time, we're going to drift from A to B. So what I want to do now is I want to set A, okay, the input node, A, to 1. So in order to do that, what I need to do is I need to have some way of having a container that can contain numeric values. Now, in this case, it's quite easy, okay? We have things called, hold down on one and click, this, which is a constant expression. Okay, and we've got different ones. You've got single constants, double constants, three vector constants, which can represent color, all sorts of things like this. Now, a single vector like this, okay, just contains a number, 0 point something, 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 all the way up to infinity number. And you can get to it by either holding down 1 and clicking, and again, there you go. So 1 and left mouse click gives us a single vector constant. Or we can right click and type in vector constant, and we can drag them all from here as well. Okay, so there's lots and lots of options. So we could also click 2, or click 3, or click 4, and we can also drag out 2 vector, 3 vector, 4 vectors. Okay, good. Experiment. Have fun. That's what it's about. So I'm going to create 2 of these. 1, 2. Okay, so I've got 2 single vector inputs. Now, the A input here, okay, I'm going to change this to 1. That way, not invisible. And B, I'm going to keep it 0. Okay. Now, what I want to do is I want to take this and put it into my linear interpolate. And then I want this to go into here. Okay. And then the time, which is on here, is feeding between the two. So if I now put this into my, let me see, not emissive, what's it called again? But I always forget what is it, opacity, that's it. So I need to find my opacity. Now we don't have opacity enabled on our material, but that's okay, because what we could do is we could change it to something like a, let me see, blend mode. We could use translucent, that would work. It'll give us our opacity, and I can just feed it into there. There we go. And what this is going to do now is when we assign this material, it's going to interpolate between 1 and 0 based on this time coming in. Now, this is a very basic function, okay? And to be honest, it's not going to look very interesting because we're not really doing anything particularly, fantastic in it. If I click save, it'll take a moment or two to compile the material because it has to compile it into a little program. So, we'll look out the window. There isn't a window over there. Don't be fooled. One behind me, though. Were you looking at my bald head? Okay, so this is still compiling, believe it or not. So, in the meantime, here is a Christmas nutcracker for you to enjoy. Funnily enough, its mouth is far too small to crack any nuts. Maybe an ant's nuts. Anyway, it's done. So this thing has compiled. Now, if I drag this onto my scene, so I'll just get my place actors. And in this case, I'm going to get a sphere and pop it here. Okay, I'm going to then find my lovely new material, which, where have I put it? Where have I put my new material? I better close the thing down. Let's have a look. Content Browser 2, Content Browser 1. I told you I always forget where I put things. And I can drag that to there. Oh, it's completely see-through, right? Now, if I was to do a quick preview of the scene, so simulate. There you go. You saw it just literally in the space of a second, it's gone from visible to invisible. But it was very, very quick because there's nothing controlling this input data between the two. Now, if we wanted to control this stuff between the two, then what we could do is we could look into perhaps using a blueprint to control that. Because what we have here at the minute is a time data. And the time data starting the second that we start this, the second we start simulating, that's going to happen. But what we could do is we could put conditions in to slow that down. So we can have things fading out, fading back in again, however we want to be doing it. Now, that's for a different time, but let's now look at how I actually did what I did, how I actually knew how to do what I did. Well, we can look things up, obviously. Okay, I mean, I've been around doing this since before Google, and I had to start off with textbooks and all sorts of things like that. And then I learned how to use Google, and I learned how to use like advanced Google queries. Then I learned how to harass people. That's pretty good fun. But another thing you can do is you can make use of modern technology. Okay, now lots and lots of people are going, "Oh, GPT-3, terrifying. We don't like it. It's taking jobs away from artists." Well, let's have a look at something that you can do. Now, if I bring down my GPT-3 over here, and this is ChatGPT, which is literally just coming out, all I did was I tested it, and I said to it, in Unreal Engine Material Editor, how do I make a material that dissolves over time? It's correct. It is correct in how it does this, but you've got to think carefully about how you word your questions. So what I could do instead is, in Unreal Engine Material Editor, how do I create a material that slowly is, I've got to make sure I spell it right, evolves over time based on proximity. I'll take away the time, hang on. Dissolves based on proximity to the player character. Okay, so this is a slightly more complicated idea. What about if, when I get closer to it, I want the material to start to fade based on how close I am to it? Let's see if it can answer that. Too many requests. Slow down. Well, okay then. Let's just, it would appear, to be quite honest, that this thing is probably fairly busy, which wouldn't surprise me. Let's try a new session and see if there's room to go in here. Right, so I've asked the question in this. Now, sometimes it's going to take a while and then it'll fail. Okay, and the reason it'll fail at the minute is because OpenAI ChatGPT is very, very overloaded, very, very busy. It's got about 1 million people using it at the minute, all the time. But these are really useful tools, okay? Don't think that the AI is going to replace us as artists. Don't think that it's going to replace us in what we do at all, because we're the artists. These are just copying. These are just copying based on what other people have done. They're fantastic tools, but they're still a tool, and you don't need to be frightened of it, all right? Now, while this is doing this, okay, I'm working out the answer to it, I'm going to tell you what the actual answer is, okay, just in case you needed to know. So the answer to how you would actually do this in proximity over time is I would create a new single vector input just here. And what I would do is I would convert it to a parameter. So this would be evolve over time. That's the name of the parameter. Its default value would be, let's say, 1. And its slider minimum would be 1, and its slider maximum would be 0, and its slider maximum would be 1. Okay, so we now have something that can go between 0 and 1. Now I'm going to give it a description, so I'll call this evolve over time, so it's now in a group for that. Sorry, it's not in a group, it's just the name of the description rather. And I think I can just plug this straight into here now. Now what I would then do is save, obviously. There we go, that's saved. Still saving. And now what I would do is I would create a blueprint inside of Unreal Engine, okay, that would basically change the value of this parameter, because parameterized means we can change it at any time. And I would just create a blueprint that will change the value of this parameter based on the distance between my character pawn and the blueprint object. And the blueprint object would then have this material assigned to it. Now that's one way of doing it. But let's look and see what the AI did while we were kind of talking about it. Ah, you see, this is an interesting one. So what it's doing is it's suggesting we create a new distance field node, connect the output of the distance field node to the dissolve node. Wow, that's fascinating. So I think that's something that we could try perhaps as well. I'm not going to try it right now, but have a look and just experiment, okay? Because what I'm trying to explain to you is that you can follow old greybeards like me, and you can learn from us. You can learn from Google, you can learn from AI. The best way to learn is to learn from everything. Okay, there's free stuff out there, there's paid stuff out there. You can even pay me to teach you, you know, but try the free stuff first until you feel completely comfortable is always my advice. But just enjoy the learning process. Anyway, that's enough. 15 minutes of talk. Hopefully you enjoyed it and you've learned something new. I'm going to leave this up here so that you can just, there we go, press pause and have a look at exactly what Unreal Engine wants us to do here, because I think it's kind of interesting. There we are. I'll just adjust it a teeny bit. Okay, so you can see the whole thing there, just in case you haven't tried it. Now, you take it easy, have a lovely day, and may your beard be big and bushy, whoever you are, even if you can't grow one. Good night.